on the tree to get tired. That's a funny noise. Okay. If you would please tell us your name and your tribal affiliation and what you said. What's that? And what grade you in?
Okay. I'm Lady Whitewater, and I go to Carter Seminary, teacher PNC, and I'm a sophomore.
Okay.
I'm Stephen V. Hill. I'm from Seminole, Oklahoma. I attend Carter Seminary in this school, and I'm a junior in Ardmore High School.
Okay, hold on just a second. I haven't got that light badly placed on you. Talking about this building. School or whether it be Cherokee or Choctaw or what?
Okay. Well, in the public schools, I think that they should have a right to know, what it's all about, the Indians and everything, because they don't know, and they might want to learn. And by having these programs, I think that they'd learn a lot, and the students would learn, especially the Indian students would learn who and what they are.
What kind of advantages or benefits do you think that would have, first of all, for Indian students, and secondly, for non-Indian students?
Well, for the Indian students, they would at least know who they were and what they were. They would be proud to be Indian and at least want to know more about their culture. And the other students, they'd like to learn a lot about the tribes and about the history.
As Rainey was saying a while ago, help the Indians identify themselves and things like this, and also give the white people a chance to learn about, Indian culture and all this, because I think that the history books that we have in school, they don't teach us enough, about it, and these programs, like this culture program that we could have in the school systems, I think they'd teach us a lot more, get down deeper about the culture of the Native American people. And I feel it'd be a really, great idea for this to happen, because a lot of times there are a lot of students that don't know very much about their culture and like to learn, but they have grandparents or something that I have seen that some students, even grandparents, don't know too much about their own culture. And through these ways in their school, they can get interested, and they'll be able, someone can teach them, and they learn more about their culture, as well as the white people could learn about the Indians too, because there are a lot of them that are interested too, and that do have a certain amount of Indian blood in them that will be interested. They could learn just as much too about the Indian culture.
How did you learn about your own heritage? What sort of route did you take in learning about the background of your family and your tribe?
Well, it began with me whenever I've been going to our ceremonial stomp dances. I'm a Seminole, and we have our stomp dances. They're called stomp dances. I've been going to them for a long time, and I've always wanted to learn to sing the songs and lead. They call it leading. I wanted to learn to sing the songs and all that, and I wanted to learn the culture behind the ceremonials of our ceremonials and everything. And so my grandmother talked to me. I listened to my grandmother. My mother talked to me, and then I also listened to the elders. I sit around with them, and they said, well, the only way you're gonna learn is get out there and try it. My grandma always said that they'll teach you and everything like that, but I took it a different way, that they'd sit you down and teach you words and all that. But in a way, in the Indian way, to me it seemed a little different. When you're there, you just get out there and do what you know, and it was scary at first and everything like that, but then I realized that this is what I was going to have to do in order to learn my culture and everything. And I got deeper involved in our culture and everything, and of the grounds that I'm from, our ceremonial grounds and everything. We have our fires and everything, and of our ground, I'm a fire chief and everything. I take care of the fire and all this, and it's just really been, great for me to learn the culture and everything, and I'm still learning, and I plan to learn for a long time, and it's also helped me in things that I do as painting and everything like this.
You know a lot of other guys your age and girls your age and younger who've not had the advantage of having a grandfather or a mother who knew the tribal ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of advantage do you think it would be for them to learn it, whether they learned it in the public schools or somewhere else? Why do you think it's important for a Native American to know about himself, know where he comes from?
Well, personally, I feel that, a lot of Indian students, there's some that don't believe in it, or they kind of doubt it and everything, but still, to me, in a way, I see a little part in them that they do want to learn, and that's what makes me think that these programs in school would be good, because they've been around where they didn't have ancestors that could teach them and everything, but there is a little part in them that shows they want to believe, they want to learn and everything like that. So that's why I feel too that these programs would be good in school, and they can learn more, as we was talking about and everything like this. And like me, like we said, that some of them hasn't had the background that I have, about their culture, and I'm all for it. And, other students learning their culture and everything like this. And,
you were talking earlier about being able to get to know and get to deal with on an equal footing with say, people who are not of Indian background,
mm-hmm.
and how difficult that is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that having a strong sense of your own place and your own tribe and your own history might have been helpful to you?
Yeah, I do, because my grandmother and my mother have taught me too. They've always said, and it's always said by most parents, I believe, that it's hard out there and you're going to have to make it sometime. So I decided, I made up my mind to do this, and that's what I wanted to do. Plus learning my culture, say the white people that ask me about it, I can tell them, what I know about my culture. And when I tell them, I don't tell them I know it all, because I'm still learning this. You learn something every day. So I tell them what I know, and I'm still learning. And because when we go to the school, we're learning about them, and they're not learning too much about us. And they ask me, I'm more than glad to tell them, because I want them to know about me just as much as I want to learn about them, and them know how I think and everything like that. Because I feel that everybody should know everybody, like this. So I feel about being equal and everything like this.
Rainey, what do you think about that?
I forgot the question.
So did I.
How do you think the Indian studies helps you to get along in the school with other people, with non-Indians? That was basically the question.
The program?
Not so much Indian studies. Oh, you do have an Indian studies program in the school, right? Or you don't really?
No.
But let's say
participation in dances and other activities.
Let's say how you think your own background. I mean, you've got a strong background in the history and heritage of your tribe, because your father's a chief and you've talked to him and that sort of thing. But how do you think that equips you to deal with other people? Say, to deal with people outside the Indian community?
Well, it helps me to understand sometimes what they think about us. They used to think we were savages and everything, what they read out of the history books. And I think Caesar's right about what he said about we need to teach them, tell them what we know, but we can't say that we know everything, because we don't. We're still young, and as we get older, we're going to learn, and we'll be able to tell our kids and our grandkids what has happened during these times, and what has happened and what will happen. But I think we should at least get a program, going in school, because they don't learn about us. We're mostly learning about them.
Yeah. What happens to a society? I mean, there are a few examples of it. I guess one of the best examples. For example, because of either inattention on the part of the Native Americans, or because of the fact that there was a concerted effort to wipe out Indian culture. How would you feel if it disappeared? I mean, what would you feel like, for example, if all of a sudden your whole background was wiped out?
Well, I'd kind of feel like part of me or half of me died, because there wouldn't be nothing seemed like there wouldn't be nothing, you know. There wouldn't be any dances, or everybody would be the same. They wouldn't have nothing to learn, and we'd just be learning what the white kids want, you know, what they learn in school, and they wouldn't be able to learn what we knew and everything.
So you think it's important to continue cultural
Yes.
tradition, whether you do it in school or whether you do it out of school?
Mm-hmm.
Get your ideas on that, Caesar, but just a second, let me get this shot set up. Okay.
That, let's see, the question you're asking.
Yeah,
What
just,
is,
what if your whole background as far as the Native American side was just wiped out? How would you feel about it?
well, you know, I'd feel the same way, you know, as Randy does. I think in a way me and Randy feel about the same. And I feel like, you know, part of me I would lost a part of me because, you know, there's, you've seen the sayings about Indian people, you know, like, there's one saying that I've heard is on a poster, and it said, my mind and the earth and I are of the same mind. And if you lose part of the earth, you're losing part of yourself that goes with the earth and everything. That's the way I think. And that, you know, I wouldn't want to lose my culture and everything. And I believe this too, that as long as I, you know, my father, you know, my creator, I always think, I keep it in my mind, to myself and my heart, that my father, you know, we might almost lose our culture, but I think my father's someone will always be there to teach us, you know. Maybe a little bit, but we'll always pick it up. That's the way I believe about it. And that we may lose our culture a whole lot, but I don't think an Indian would never lose his complete culture, because I think there's a lot of Indian people that are real strong about it. And someone will eventually learn, you know, that our father would always, you know, make sure we had a culture. And I keep it in here because I don't want to lose it. And if I can teach it, I can teach it, so I want to keep from losing it. That's how I feel about things like this, you know, about, you said if we lost our culture and everything. I just keep it in my heart and in my mind that we can't lose it, you know. Like they say, there's a will, there's a way.
Okay, did you have any more questions? Let me just ask you a general question. Now, you both are doing real well, I know, in school and that sort of thing, but just ask you if you think maybe that having a good, strong Native American Studies program in a school system that kids with an Indian background, but without the kind of cultural tradition that you both have, but one where they could pick some of that up, if you think this would tend to encourage them to stay in school, would tend to transfer, if they enjoyed and learned a lot from that program, would tend to transfer into their other subjects and maybe help them to get along better, not only in school but later on when they got out of school or went to college.
Yeah, I believe that, you know, like this culture, you know, we have these programs. They get interested in this. Well, it's just like to me, it's just like another way of learning. You know, you learn something every day, and that you know, pretty soon in life, these other subjects, you know, like your math and English stuff, it's going. I feel that somewhere along the line, it's going to go inside with you, deal. And I feel, you know, it could encourage them to go on and stay in school, because it's going to all go together one time or another. They're going to have to explain how they feel to someone, and I think it's be real good. You know, I'm all for it, thing like that. For, you know, Indians to keep their culture and everything. That's how I feel about it.
Right.
Well, I think the Indian students, the dropouts the ones that were thinking about dropping out, I think they would stay in school, you know, to learn more about their culture, their tribe, and where they're originally from and everything. But some of the white kids would really want to learn more, and I think they'd want to learn more about it and learn more like what we have to do and our tribe and everything, because there's more than just a couple of tribes, and some of them don't even know the names of them, and I think they would like to learn what their tribes were and or are, and what they have, you know, their cultures are and everything, the traditional things.
What about what about the value of that kind of learning to the whole society, to the whole country, for example? I mean, I said earlier that Indian people were able to exist in this country for 20, 30,000 years and turned it over, as it were, to the Europeans in better shape than it was when they started out. And we sure need that kind of knowledge today in the face of our disappearing resources and increasing incidences of pollution and everything else.
Do you mean how would this program do all over the country?
Yeah, and even in areas where there were no Indian people.
Well, yeah, I think, you know, I keep saying it's good because I'm all for it. You know, like I always go back to the sayings. You know, like they always say the Indian has a strong heart. You know, there's I guess what I'm trying to say is that the culture of the Indian people, you know, it's been so strong that whenever there's other Indian people that don't know very much about it and they're taught it, well, then that builds up in their heart, and they're going to go on. They're going to try to go on to keep this country the way it is good. You know, make it better. You know, for everybody. I think it'll affect, you know, a lot of the white people too, because they'd understand how an Indian really feels, and that they want to be, you know, a lot of white people say Indians are down here. But I think it could bring the white people know Indian wants to be there with them. They want to be equal, you know, not in the society, they're in the heart and everything. That's what I feel about it, and it's just my opinions on it. So.
Randy, did you hear anything to say about that?
Well, all over the country, I think that, well, they'd learn a lot and they'd understand, you know, what we feel like, you know, to be put down, you know, and stuff, because sometimes it really hurts to be put down, you know, but then they would learn, you know, how we felt and how we would like to be treated, because we've been put down a lot of times, and sometimes we weren't able to do anything about it. Well, and then they wouldn't think we were telling the truth about, you know, the treaties and stuff like that. But then they would learn that they broke their treaties, or whether they kept them. But most of the time they were broke, and that's why we were always down below the whites. But we're going to make it up there somehow.
Yeah.
We will someday.
You know.
Anything else?
Oh, you know, I was, you know, some people, you know, the way, you know, like Randy said, you know, Indians have always, you know, felt, you know, they, in a way, you know, like, want people to know that how we've been treated and all that. But too, I've known, you know, some people will get the wrong idea about how Indians feel, you know, like, say, well, you know, our treaty's been broken, we've been doing this, it's hard for us to do this. Well, a lot of people take it that I've noticed, but I've talked to people and they've taken it, when I've talked, they've taken it that I'm like asking for pity, and I don't want pity. I just want to give me a chance to get up there. I don't care about the idea of people wanting pity. I just want a chance to make it, and I just like to, you know, kind of get that straight about how I feel about that. That pity isn't my idea. It's to get a chance.
Sure, equality.
And I feel Carter's here giving me the chance. You know, the government here's giving me the chance, and I'm taking the best advantage of it that I can, because I want to be able to help my other people someday.
Okay. Either one of you have anything else you'd like to say? What would you recommend, say, to other Indian kids who maybe have not been as fortunate as you, have not come from a tribal background, so maybe an urban Indian kid who was interested in getting into his culture? Would you recommend that he do it? Would you think it would make him a better person, or a stronger person, or give him a better chance?
It'd give him something to think about, and to make him know that he was an Indian, and to know what it is to be an Indian, and give him an identity, and he would know, and he would want to learn the culture. and the history of his tribe, I think it would really help the Indian students that didn't come from an Indian background. And I think this is right, the culture, history stuff.
Susan?
You mean about the same question?
Yeah,
Yes?
basically the same question. Well,
Oh.
would you recommend to a kid who's say an urban Indian, a kid
Mhm.
whose family has been away from tribal life for a couple generations, would you recommend that he get back involved into tribal things, into cultural things?
Yeah, I'd strongly recommend that. If he's wanting to, he's willing to, and everything. I strongly recommend that he do it because if he's interested, if a person's interested, they can do it, and he'll be able to learn it. If he's interested, and he'll learn a lot. As Randy said, learn his culture and background and everything like this, because there's a lot of them I've seen that think it's a shame to be an Indian, but it's real good, It's real good to be an Indian, just like it's real good to be any other nationality. That's what you are. You got to accept it. There's no shame involved. I don't I don't believe in. I'd really encourage a lot of as you said, ones that didn't have an Indian background and wanted to learn everything like this. I'd really encourage them to get involved.
Great. Can you think of anything else now that you'd like to say? I think we pretty well covered the waterfront. Any other ideas? Nope.
Since it's 2 o'clock in
Okay. Now you can make a tape of me and zoom in and zoom out.
Unless it be the rooms or something, get somebody, some students over there.
Right.
Something like that. We don't have any.
I don't know what to ask. How do you feel about the programs?
Yeah, we had it.
Making up these programs?
Yeah.
I don't know too much about that, but it seems like to me that the hardest part would be to get the proper people from the tribes with the proper knowledge and get that down on paper or get it down on tape. Because one of the problems that we run into, particularly in preserving language, is that in many cases the older people are the ones that have the knowledge, and sometimes they feel a little shy about coming forth with it, and other times they don't speak any English at all, so it's difficult. So you have to have somebody who can translate for them. But even if they don't speak any English, I think it's really critically important to get these people down on tape, and probably videotape or audio tape is the best way to do it, so that later on maybe somebody would come along who does know the language, who could translate it. Mainly it's a preservation thing. You need to preserve these things. Now you want to show Caesar how to run it? Let him make a little tape? You ought to get a chance to just turn that big ring. That's all you have to do. Okay? That's why I think that that's why I think it's a natural thing to use videotape and audio tape in schools. I think that would be a real good component for the curriculum that they've designed, that they're planning to put into the school system here. Because if you can talk about it and talk about the necessity for preserving culture, but at some point you've got to start doing something. And one of the big problems with American...
Carter is a peripheral dormitory school of Bureau of Indian Affairs. Our students stay at the school and attend public school. It's called seminary because originally the Indian schools where girls attended were seminaries, and the boys' schools where Indians attended were academies. And it wasn't until the 50s that Carter became coeducational, but the name stuck with him, Carter Seminary. And I feel like our students have the best of two worlds because they can go to the public schools and compete with non-Indians, and yet they come home to where we have all Indian students. And I found in some studies that Indians like to be with Indians. I remember a lady who took off a year to find out what Indians like to read, and she found out they like to read about Indians. And that's kind of the way it is with our students. They like it here because we have an all Indian school here, and yet they can still go to public schools.
Tell us a little bit about the kinds of cultural and traditional things that are done here with the kids.
At the time, we do not have an adequate cultural program, and this is my feeling about most of the Oklahoma public schools. I don't know whether they take Indians for granted or what, but they're just not that kind of cultural programs going on. There are a few in California and a few other areas where they have Native American studies, which is part of their curriculum, and social studies. But we have had Indian dancing in the past, and this is what we're going to show in the videotaping. We have arts and crafts, and yet it is inadequate, really, for them to learn their backgrounds and about their past and about the past traditions. We don't have it. Now, at Haskell Indian Junior College, I feel like they had an ideal Native American Studies program. It was a division of the school. Of course, you have to take 3 hours to get your AA degree, but they bring in tribal people, and because all tribes are different, and there's no more similarities in the nations of Europe, and all of them are different, but they do bring in tribal people to offer Northwest legends, or they have the different languages of several different tribes. They can't offer all tribes because there's 112 different tribes there. But they have different modules, Kiowa hand games, Native American religion. But there they have people who know what they're talking about will come in and offer a 2 weeks module maybe, and we find different tribes learning about other tribes, and today it seems like many of our young Indian people belong to 2 or 3 or 4 different tribes.
Tell us a little bit about why you think it's important for the public schools to offer programs on Native American studies and Indian culture and perhaps even Indian language.
I've always felt like we need to educate non-Indians because Indian people really have something to offer. And this is why I feel many of our people are going back to something that they may have lost. And they're looking for knowledge about their background. They realize the spirituality and the humanness of Indian people, and it's something that they're wanting. Many people are going back to their reservations or back to their where they lived. Many of them who had gone to urban areas under the Relocation Act. And so they're looking for this, and I think they're looking for their identity. And I feel like once they find out who they are, then they can begin to develop a philosophy for themselves and feel good about themselves. And I know in many of our textbooks today, they need to supplement those textbooks by bringing in Indian authors and Indian books so that people can find out a little bit more of the truth. And the non-Indians need to know these things. I remember a man at the University of Southern California working on his doctorate, and how he was talking about one day writing up a paper about Indians. He said, I didn't realize the atrocities that were committed against Indians. I said, where have you been? I mean, what books have you been reading? And to think that people had come this far, and so I know that people with a much lesser education know much less about the Indian people and really understanding Indian people and understanding what they are about. Because for people to understand the Indian ways, the humanness And if we could all live on this level of humanness, I think we'd have a much better place to live.
How do you think that learning about not only, say, generally Native American culture, but say specifically tribal and family heritage might improve our young Indians' chance to compete in the larger world outside the tribe?
Well, I think we're living in two worlds, and people need to feel good about themselves, and in knowing that about their backgrounds, about their tribal backgrounds, their clans, and I think it just helps them find that identity that is very, very necessary for them to function at the level that they need to be functioning at. And it's just going to give them a better understanding of themselves and help them feel a lot better about themselves. And then I think they'll do a much better job of.
Okay. Do you think of anything else?
No. Well, there's a lot of things I thought of before I wanted to say. At this moment, there's nothing.
Okay. If you would please tell us your name and the tribal affiliation and what you want to say. My grade is.
Okay. I'm Lady Whitewater, and I go to Carter Seminary, Kickapoo and Sioux, and I'm a sophomore.
Okay.
I'm Stephen V. Hill. I'm from Seminole, Oklahoma. I attend Carter Seminary in this school, and I'm a junior in Ardmore High School.
Okay, hold on just a second. We haven't got that light badly placed in you. Something around this building there. School or whether it be Cherokee or Choctaw or what.
Okay. Well, in the public schools, I think that they should have a right to know, what it's all about, the Indians and everything.
I think that the history books that we have in school, they don't teach us enough, about it, and that these programs, like this culture program that we could have in the school systems, I think they'd teach us a lot more, get down deeper about the culture of the Native American people, and I feel it'd be a really, great idea for this to happen, because a lot of times there are a lot of students that don't know very much about their culture and like to learn, but they have grandparents or something that I have seen that some students, even grandparents, don't know too much about their own culture, and through these ways in their school they can get interested, and they'll be able, someone can teach them, and they learn more about their culture, as well as the white people could learn about the Indians too, because there are a lot of them that are interested too, and that do have a certain amount of Indian blood in them that will be interested, and they could learn just as much too about their Indian culture.
How did you learn about your own heritage? What sort of route did you take in learning about the background of your family and your tribe?
Well,
Because they don't know, and they might want to learn, and by having these programs, I think that they'd learn a lot, and the students would learn, especially the Indian students would learn who and what they are.
What kind of advantages or benefits do you think that would have, first of all, for Indian students, and secondly, for non-Indian students?
Well, for the Indian students, they would at least know who they were and what they were. They'd be proud to be Indian, and at least want to know more about their culture. And the other students, they'd like to learn a lot about the tribes and about the history.
as Rainey was saying a while ago, help the Indians identify themselves and things like this, and also give the white people a chance to learn about Indian culture and all this, because our culture and everything, and of the grounds that I'm from, our ceremonial grounds and everything, we have our fires and everything, and of our ground, I'm a fire chief and everything. I take care of the fire and all this, and it's just really been, you know, great for me to learn to coach and everything, and I'm still learning, and I plan to learn for a long time, and it's also helped me in things that I do as painting and everything like this.
You know a lot of other guys your age and girls your age and younger who've not had the advantage of having a grandfather or a mother who knew the tribal ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of advantage do you think it would be for them to learn it, whether they learned it in the public schools or somewhere else? Why do you think it's important for a Native American to know about himself, know where he comes from?
Well, you know, personally, I feel that, you know, a lot of Indian students, there's some that don't believe in it, you know, or they kind of doubt it and everything, but still, to me, it began with me whenever I've been going to our ceremonial stomp dances. You know, I'm a Seminole, and we have our stomp dances. They're called stomp dances. I've been going to them for a long time, and I've always wanted to learn to sing the songs and lead. They call it leading. I wanted to learn to sing the songs and all that, and I wanted to learn the culture behind the ceremonials of our ceremonials and everything. And so my grandmother talked to me, and I listened to my grandmother, and my mother talked to me, and then I also listened to the elders. You know, I sit around with them, and they said, well, the only way you're going to learn is get out there and try it. My grandma always said that they'll teach you and everything like that, but I took it a different way, that they'd sit you down and teach you words and all that. But in a way, in an Indian way, to me, it seemed a little different. When you're there, you just get out there and do what you know, and it was scary at first and everything like that, but then I realized that this is what I was going to have to do in order to learn my culture and everything, and I got deeper involved in